We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park, the championship meet, running now through Florida Derby weekend, March 31st.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Merry Christmas Eve. Seth Merrow in the studio for Racing Across America on this Sunday, Christmas Eve. I said it yesterday. I imagine if people are watching, you're in the relaxed phase and you finished your shopping, because I think if you haven't finished your shopping, you're probably not watching. And I will say now with online shopping and whatnot, I'm much better. Back in the day, I would be running around still on Christmas Eve myself. But hopefully you have gotten all the shopping done and the food's all packed away and ready to fire up for Christmas dinner tomorrow and whatnot. And we can just have a relaxing Sunday here. I'll run through some of the stakes action from yesterday, which was nice at Gulfstream and Fairgrounds, two venues that ran two very nice stakes cards yesterday. Again, the kind that are going to play into next year as well. And then we'll do kind of an abbreviated OTB Live a little bit later on, because there is some racing here on Christmas Eve. It will include Tampa and Gulfstream. And so I'll take a look at both of those tracks in a couple hours, going through the early part of the afternoon. We'll cut out a little bit early. I think Tampa, in fact, ends before 4 o'clock. Gulfstream is going to run. Yeah, Tampa ends at 3:50. Their last post time. First post time is 12:24. Gulfstream is going to kick off at 12:10 as usual. They're going to run 10 today and go until 4:36. Then things will wrap up pretty much for the day. There's some other racing as well, but obviously on Christmas Eve, everything's going to wrap up early. A little bit later on today, after the racing ends, we will kick off our annual best of that'll run all through tomorrow. There's no racing, obviously, in America tomorrow. And so as we normally do, we went back and picked a bunch of our favorite interviews from the Saratoga season this past summer. Plug them all together. It's on a loop of a couple hours, and that'll run all day long tomorrow. So if you have a chance, you can check that out. As I said yesterday, live a little vicariously, looking at some nice Saratoga summer from a few months ago. As the temperatures have cooled down around here, although it seems like this week is supposed to be kind of moderate temperature-wise, which works for me. But that's the game plan today, tomorrow, and then Tuesday, Santa Anita kicks off. And keep in mind, as normal, on the Boxing Day, day after Christmas, opening day card at Santa Anita, some nice stakes action. The Malibu is going to feature some interesting 3-year-olds. And so it's a nice kickoff for the Santa Anita meet coming up on Tuesday. So keep that in mind. That's all the next few days. To look a little further ahead and just to alert you, next week, Santa Anita opening day on Tuesday, but then on Friday, Aqueduct will be our focus for the bounty bet. The bounty bet will return. Aqueduct, although I'm reading that, and now I'm thinking the bounty bet, I think I'm going to have to double check that. So, because I thought the bounty bet, I was alerted, won't be back until 2024. I'll double check that. And when we're back in next week, we'll update you on that. But I do know for a fact the holiday grab bag promotion will happen next Saturday, week from yesterday, right here at the Clubhouse Racebook. If you come in, folks will be randomly selected throughout the afternoon to pick a present from under our nice tree out in the front half of the Clubhouse Racebook here. 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Again, that's coming up Saturday right here, Clubhouse Racebook. Maybe get a little extra something for the holiday season. All right, let's get into it because, again, it was a nice stakes day yesterday. We talked about the Gulfstream Stakes with Brian Nato, and went over what was a nice all stakes pick four. And I should have, I didn't even think of this. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly. They wound up, they also, we talked about, they had the mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six, which wound up, again, we had taped the interview with Brian on Friday, and we were in the midst of the card, so we were touting, geez, this thing could balloon up nicely with a carryover, but we put the caveat in there. We're talking about this the mid card on Friday, so the potential is there that the thing could get hit, and it got hit on Friday. Somebody walked away with $300,000, but as Brian had said when we were talking to him, a lot of attention on Gulfstream yesterday because there's no New York racing, there's no Oaklawn, you have the turf racing, you have the nice stakes down there. And so as we were talking yesterday, we were kind of making the point that if you wanted to play that rainbow with the mandatory, it's happened before, it gets hit, but even if it gets hit, it's a really popular, Gulfstream I think is the most, I safely say the most popular venue for the Rainbow Six. And even if it gets hit with a mandatory, people play in. And with more eyes focused, we were anticipating it'll be okay. It wound up okay. I mean, they had $892,000 in the pool yesterday with the mandatory in the Rainbow at Gulfstream. You wound up for 20 cents, $6,300, almost just a tick under $6,400 on the day. So again, it wasn't as exciting perhaps as it would have been had it not been hit by a single player on Friday, but still pretty good with over $800,000 up for grabs. And if you walked away with that $6,400, I'm sure you were thrilled, and I don't blame you. All right, let's get into it. Stakes action at Gulfstream kicked off with the Tropical Park Oaks. There was the Tropical Park Oaks, Tropical Park Derby. As the names suggest, 3-year-old fillies, 3-year-old males. Kicked it off with the 3-year-old fillies. This was frustrating for me because I like Breath Away in here, the number 10 horse from Christophe Clement and Dean Reeves. They had shipped this horse out to Southern California on Breeders' Cup weekend and tried an undercard stake. I thought that was intriguing that they had that confidence to make that move. And then they come back to what is the wintertime home base, Christophe Clement down in Florida, and give a shot, Tropical Park Oaks. And Breath Away went off at a generous 7-1. Breath Away is going to be the number 10 horse here. The number 11 is Be My Sunshine. Safi Joseph for Ken Ramsey. And you can see those Ken Ramsey colors sneaking up the rail there. But on the outside is my 10 horse. And it's just a better trip for the 11, Be My Sunshine, under Edgar Zayas, who just, this was so tough. Boom, boom, boom. And I thought live I might have gotten it, but it looked like the 11, watching the replay, it looked like it was a head, and it was a head, Bob. I didn't see the eventual photo, but it couldn't have been much more than a smidge there. The 11 holds on. Be My Sunshine under Edgar Zayas. Safi Joseph after the race said, nice ride, and that made the difference. It did. He cut the corner there and just got the jump on mine. Great late run from Breath Away, who winds up just missing and running third. Number 8, Alpha Bella under Luis Saez. Cairo Consort runs fourth in there off a long layup. She'll be intriguing to watch next year for Todd Pletcher because she's shown plenty of talent throughout the career, but Cairo Consort hadn't been seen since Derby weekend. So long layup. The fourth in there was an okay comeback, as they say. Should be worth watching going forward, but as will the winner in the second place for us. But again, that was frustrating. Come up, that short at 7-1 with Breath Away, but a nice win for Safi Ken Ramsey there with Be My Sunshine at 8-1. You got $19 and change there. All right. Also, the Sugar Swirl. I said $19 and change, but it's not. Yeah, yeah, 1940 on Be My Sunshine. Sugar Swirl was the Phillies and Mares sprinting 6 furlongs, grade 3 event. I had Napa Candy on top. Went off at 9-1. Had Brian on yesterday, Nato. He liked Napa Candy too. That gave me a little more confidence. Unfortunately for both of us at 9-1, Napa Candy does not show up. Runs a disappointing 6th in the field of 7. Is really never in the mix. Spirit Wind, however, looked absolutely logical. 4 wins, 2 seconds, and 6 starts at Gulfstream. Comes back to Gulfstream, but hadn't been seen since May. That was the knock on Spirit Wind. So Spirit Wind goes off as the second choice at 3-1. The favorite was Intrepid Daydream, Safi Joseph runner, that came in with a 4-race win streak, but all in restricted stakes at Laurel, Delaware, and Pimlico. Moves into the Safi Joseph barn, comes down to Florida, moves up into this grade 3 company, and Intrepid Dream takes the action at 6-5. And is in the hunt along with number 5, Olivia Darling, a horse that I've liked this year in various spots. Wasn't attracted to Olivia Darling yesterday. But coming down the stretch, it will be the number 8, Spirit Wind. As I say, the second choice at 3-1. Popped out, took them all the way around, had an open lead the whole way. Eventually has to work for it a little bit. The chart margin will be half a length. Intrepid Daydream, the number 4, will make it interesting, as will Olivia Darling and My Destiny on the inside. But if you had Spirit Wind, I don't know if you were really in a sweat there. Gets it done. Nice training job. As I say, the horse had been off since May. Relatively lightly raced. 7 starts going into this, 4 wins, 2 seconds. As I say, all of those had happened at Gulfstream. Had made 1 start up at Churchill. That was, again, on in May, the last time this horse had been seen. So a nice little comeback for Spirit Wind, 40-year-old, you would have to think. And the follow-up article, I guess because it was the holidays, the follow-up articles yesterday were not giving quite as much information as you normally get. I always like to kind of see what the connections think, where they're going to go next, and those kind of things. And there was not as much of that yesterday. So I don't know what we can expect from the winner there, but it was certainly a nice performance yesterday. You would think off of that they would have some plans going forward. The thing is, with the ladies, you don't quite know, will they continue racing or will they head to the breeding shed? This is a 4-year-old. I would think probably comes back, but we'll know more in the ensuing 2 or 3 months. Mr. Prospector was for 3-year-olds and up on the male side, going 7 furlongs. Again, another graded event. This one's kind of interesting. I had Win From Within on top because I thought it was a very contentious race, and I wanted to go with a little bit of an interesting horse who I thought had a shot. And coming off a claim for Bill Morey at Churchill, plenty of early speed to be in the hunt. Win From Within was intriguing for me. Showed none of that early speed yesterday, and that 5-1 from a 10-1 morning line wasn't the price I was hoping for, and wound up 8th in a field of 9. So my top pick from start to finish, and including the tote board, was not exciting. Down at the bottom of my mix, I put Sibelius, and I just wasn't quite convinced on Sibelius, but Sibelius was the defending champion of this race. Hadn't been seen since October. Before that, hadn't been seen since the end of July. So a little bit lightly raced. And since the win last year, went on and won the Pelican right after that, and then went over to Dubai and won the Golden Shaheen. Since then, had not done much. And so I was a little bit suspect on Sibelius. But Sibelius comes back yesterday and repeats. Sibelius is going to be the number 9 horse here under Junior Alvarado. Trainer Jeremiah O'Dwyer said, maybe we got a little ambitious and just felt a little too good after the Group 1 over in Dubai, and we were in a little too salty company, and maybe the trip took something out of the horse. But we came into this with a little bit of confidence, and so Sibelius rebounds nicely in the same race that I say he won last year, Mr. Prospector. They said after the race, this one they did kind of lay out a little bit of a schedule. They said game plan probably will be to do just what they did last year, which was kind of an odd sequence. Again, they came out of this race last year, winning the Mr. Prospector. Then they go over to Tampa early February and they win the Pelican. And then end of March, get the Group 1 Golden Shaheen over in Dubai. It's not, you don't see a lot of Tampa to Dubai race-to-race schedules, but they did it last year, and they seem to indicate that's going to be the game plan again this year for Sibelius. Running second there was Gilmore. Gilmore I didn't really like either. Gilmore's a horse that earlier this season had been kind of an interesting 3-year-old, but was stepping in against Older yesterday, coming out of kind of a dud in the Pennsylvania Derby. I was not convinced on Gilmore. Gilmore, okay, second, with 4 lengths on the chart behind the winner, so no threat there, but run second in kind of a salty field. Dreaming of Kona third, Long Range Toddy fourth in the Mr. Prospector. And as I say, going to be interesting now to watch Sibelius and see if they do elect to. Again, they said that was the game plan. I don't think it's set in stone, but to see if they once again make that Gulfstream to Tampa to Dubai schedule this year for Sibelius. Also, wrapping up the stakes action yesterday at Gulfstream, it was the Tropical Park Oaks. I said it yesterday. A kind of an exclamation point on the season, the subdivision I like quite a bit. 3-year-olds on the turf, and this is why I like it, because really start of the year to the end of the year, venues all across the country have nice 3-year-old stakes. Up here at the National Museum of Racing, but it's all over the country, and starts. You'll see it kick off in a few weeks down in Florida and continues right until Tropical Park Derby end of December down in Florida as well. I put Ohana Honor on top here. Went off close up second choice at 7-2, Ohana Honor from West Point and Shug. The favorite, just by a tick, was Irish Aces. And when I handicapped this race yesterday, I said, watch out. Irish Aces with a scratch came in from the AE list. And I think that one could be a little bit interesting and live for Brendan Walsh with Irad Ortiz on board. Betting public agreed, making that, again, a lukewarm, but a 7-2 favorite. But Super Blessing gets it done, and I'm reasonably certain top pick from Anthony Mormino yesterday on the Handicappers Report, because I remember he had the Trombetta Live Oak course. So Super Blessing gets it done at 12-1. Super Blessing, the number 7 horse. You can see comes through there over number 3, Bapio, but number 13 gets up just to get the second over Bapio as well. Bapio was another one I didn't have in my mix, but I thought was dangerous for Mark Cassie. Super Blessing was at the kind of towards the bottom of my mix. That one for Trombetta and Live Oak was coming off a very near miss on the synthetic here at Gulfstream. And the follow-up articles on this noted he's had some issues during the year, so been lightly raced throughout the career. This is at the end of the 3-year-old season. This was only the 4th start of the year. Only had 3 starts last year. On the 2-year-old side of things, that's maybe not as surprising. Didn't start till September. But this year, having some talent with only 4 starts. But Mike Trombetta said, we've had some issues. They were aiming for a race up at Woodbine that they missed because there was just a little bit of an issue that they had to take care of. So boom, down to Gulfstream, and they get the nice start on the synthetic that leads into this. But that was now win number 3 in start number 7 for Super Blessing, and shown some nice talent. It was win number 3 with a 2nd place finish and 2 thirds. So you have 6 in the money finishes in 7 starts. We were talking on the Handicappers Report yesterday. The 3-year-old 3-year-olds on the turf this year are going to turn into 4-year-olds and make for a really nice division next year. Because that, again, is a subdivision I always like, and it played out very nicely this year. And I think yesterday maybe put one more on the radar as well. Irish Aces, again, the second there. That one's very lightly raced. For Brendan Walsh, that was only the fifth career start for Irish Aces, so that'll be one to watch as well. Ohana Honor, again, disappointing as the second choice, running fifth, but he's better than that, and expect for a rebound, I would think, for that one going forward. But again, a nice way to put a capper on the 3-year-old turf season, which, as I say, produced some nice runners this year. That'll be very interesting to watch as we move into the older turf division in just a week or so when the calendar changes. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, lots of good stakes action down at the fairgrounds as well. So we will delve into that on the return to Racing Across America right after this. Stay tuned.
And they're off in the Pegasus World Cup. They're off in the Fountain of Youth Stakes. And they're off in the Curlin Florida Derby. Forte wins. White Arborio almost home.
And Nyquist is still unbeaten. Orb and John Velasquez have won the Florida Derby.
Barbaro wins.
And there you have it. Northern Dancer will be the winner of the Florida Derby.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Christmas Eve edition. Again, hope everybody's in the midst of a fun holiday weekend. We'll jump back into the action now down at the fairgrounds. Lots of great stakes action yesterday down in New Orleans, kicking off with the Blushing KD early on the card. We had Ken McPeak on yesterday. We talked about Lovely Princess, who has been a nice runner for McPeak and Company, but on the stakes side of things, just hasn't quite been able to get it done. Has been knocking on the door in a number of stakes. Ran third in the Cardinal in the prior start back the end of November, but a well-beaten third. But you go down, there were some other stakes where this horse, as I say, was really knocking on the door. But I said to Ken when I had him on yesterday, I think this is a clever spot because the horse was the morning line favorite. I also had her on top in my picks, and it looked like she had just found a nice field to face off with down here and maybe break through and get that stakes victory. And Ken said, obviously that's the goal. Get a little black type on the page and a listed stake. Blushing Katie, $100,000, mile and 16th on the grass. And it was Lovely Princess, but she had to work for it. Creative Cairo, the number 7. I had that one in my mix, and the betting public made that the 4-1 second choice. We're teeing up the right. That was the fourth. We're teeing up the third now. Lovely Princess under Brian Hernandez, as I say, will get it done. Takes the lead late, but then has to scramble to get it done over Creative Cairo. Join the Dance is going to run third in here, but as I say, has to work at a 3 to 5 price. Lovely Princess, the 3 there with the lead, but then they come together, and this is going to be a duel right down to the wire. Here you think Lovely Princess is going to gut it right out, but it gets close, close, close. Chart margin is going to wind up to be ahead. Yikes. That is about as close as it gets. Under the wire with Lovely Princess being declared the winner. Live, I thought, I don't know whether I got that. And then when they put up the numbers, I was perfectly happy that I did, although at 3 to 5, you're not getting much. But I always, when we have somebody on the show, always like to root for our guests to get it done. But as you can see, 3 to 5 versus 4 to 1. And to me, the 3 to 5 did seem a little short, but does manage to get it done here. As I say, that is as close as it gets with Lovely Princess. Again, chart margin is ahead. I didn't see the photo, and I meant to go back and look because that seemed really close, closer than ahead. Let's put it that way. But does get it done. Lovely Princess, as I say, always happy when our show guests can score subsequently in one of the stakes we talked about. And Lovely Princess does kick off the day, stakes-wise anyway, down at the fairgrounds in fine fashion in that respect. Sugar Bowl also on the card yesterday. These are 2-year-olds going 6 furlongs. So, again, these are 2-year-olds. Another week, they're going to be 3-year-olds. They're going to be interesting to watch. I liked Legalize. I was surprised Agoo wasn't the favorite, having run well in a stake up at Churchill in the previous start with a solid number. But the betting public wound up making American Rascal the favorite. I had that one down the 3rd spot, but it's an Asmussen runner with stakes experience. And it was a stakes win out at Zia, won the Zia Juvenile. So there was things to like. It was Asmussen and Stone Street with the stakes win. The number to me was a little bit light. And again, so I was surprised. The betting public seemed so focused on those numbers. I was surprised Agoo didn't get the favoritism. That said, all 3 of these, including my top pick, Legalize, were very close. They were all sitting in that 8 to 5, 7 to 5, bouncing around. And just separated slightly. But Legalize does get it done, and pretty nicely here, too, for Cherie DeVoe. Brian Hernandez on board, a son of Constitution, debut at Keeneland behind Agoo, ran 5th, but then followed it up with a nice maiden breaker at Churchill and followed that up here. Chart margin's 2 3/4. This is pretty solid. American Rascal, the Asmussen Stakes winner, runs 2nd, and Agoo runs 3rd. And they look like a couple of legitimate horses. So it was a nice win for Legalize. Again, trained by Cherie DeVoe. Her sister was actually in the winner's circle afterwards. Joe Christopher asked, are you committed to sprinting now with this one or stretch out? And again, Cherie's sister didn't have any commitment on that. As far as whether they feel like, oh, this is a bona fide sprinter and we're going to stay that way. I would find it hard to believe, Offspring of Constitution and Dams by Unbridled Song. As I say, the debut effort ran 5th at 6.5, then 1 at 7, then yesterday wins a stake at 6. It's been sprints so far. But you have a good 3-year-old. I'd be surprised if they didn't at least try some kind of a stretch out. It's too tempting. When the 3-year-old, you can hear the 3-year-old trail off in the distance. You have a good 3-year-old. So we'll see what happens with that one. But it wouldn't shock me if we see that one stretch out. But that was a nice performance yesterday from Legalize in only the 3rd career start. All right, we will move on to the Letellier Memorial a little bit later on the card. This one, 2-year-old fillies going 6 furlongs. I like Helena's Forte, who had run debut victor at Churchill, then followed it up in the Fern Creek State, moving out of a debut maiden victory into a stakes race. It's always kind of tough, although, these days you're facing similar horses in these kind of stakes. But in this case, faced You Almost Had Me and ran a close-up second, and You Almost Had Me, the winner of the Fern Creek, 6 starts, 4 wins. 3 of those were in stakes races. So ran a close-up, less than a length beaten second to a really talented runner in the Fern Creek. So I liked Helena's Forte yesterday. The betting public did as well at 3-5. That was probably too short. But it winds up being the number 8, Leslie's Loot. Interesting here, this one has raced the career so far in New York in the first 6 starts of the career. Came down from Aqueduct, was cross-entered yesterday at Turfway, elects to go into the stake at Fairgrounds for Jim Chapman, and gets it done pretty easily, 3 3/4 lengths, 18-1. Leslie's Loot coming in from New York Invader. Helena's Forte, the number 3 horse, you can see kind of sneaking up the inside there, will be second by half a length over Debles Blanc. And I thought it was an okay race for Helena's Forte, just got going a little too late. And again, it was only the 3rd start of the career. She'll be okay. She'll be one to watch going forward for Phil Bauer. But Leslie's Loot, that was a nice performance. That could have been a kind of a breakout performance for her. Coming in from New York, she had trained most recently on December 16th, just a week prior, at Belmont. And as I say, they were cross-entered at Turfway, and they looked and elected to try the $100,000 stakes race down at the fairgrounds. So they had to ship down and get the horse acclimated, and it worked out with, as I say, almost a 4-length victory in here for Leslie's Loot. 3rd career victory in 7 career starts. She had tried Stakes Company one time prior, ran in the Matron and off the turfer at Belmont at Aqueduct, and was a well-beaten 5th. So coming into yesterday with that one kind of a dud stakes try, you can understand why the horse went off at 18-1 as the second longest price on the board. But if you like Leslie's Loot, $38 and change in the Letellier Memorial. And I would think this will be a 3-year-old. We will see, given the New York connections and the New York record so far. I would think that'll be one we will see in New York, and potentially right up the Northway this summer, up at Saratoga in some nice little 3-year-old action up there. So we'll keep our eyes on Leslie's Loot as the winter progresses. Also on the schedule yesterday at the fairgrounds, the Shearer Memorial, about 5.5 on the grass. I was kind of kicking myself. The horse I like, Private Creed, scratched. So I scratched into the number 9 horse, Sasua Summer. And I still like Sasua Summer. Came over from the Payson Park home base for Bill Mott, and that they elected to take on this spot at the fairgrounds was intriguing. So as I say, I scratched into Sasua Summer. But I was kicking myself because as I was in here on OTV Live yesterday and handicapping, I looked at Just Might. And when I looked at Just Might, I want to say 9 or 10-1. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure the horse was a price, and that's why I brought it up. I said, you know what? Just Might is very good, a really talented sprinter, and you don't see it a lot. Turf and dirt, and they kind of go back and forth, and the horse is successful. Going into yesterday, Just Might had tried 11 turf races at the fairgrounds and had been in the exacta 8 times. Nice 7-year-old, millionaire. And so, as I say, I did not have Just Might in my mix, but as we were handicapping yesterday, I'm looking up at the odds. I thought, take an extra look at that one. And sure enough, the odds went down. Again, I'm thinking 9 or 10-1. Maybe it wasn't that, but it was still offering a little more value than the 9-2 eventually went off at. But gets out there, That's just Might out in front. And you can tell here, it's going to be tough to run this one down. They closed the gap, and it is Sasua Summer, the number 9 horse, getting up to run second, but a length behind. Minnesota Ready third, Swift as Am fourth. But Just Might takes him all the way around. And Michelle Lovell in the winner's circle afterwards with one of the other owners. Michelle Lovell is also a part owner. And I was kind of reading up. I want to say we had Michelle on after Damon's Mound up at Damon's Mound, who's for Michelle going in the Malibu as well. But former jockey going back quite a ways. And then you read her bio. It's interesting. She quit being a jockey and she went out, I want to say Portland or Seattle, and she was part owner of a coffee shop and then came back to racing and now been training for a while. But she has a nice one on her hands here, Just Might. Again, already over $1 million going into yesterday. But that was a very nice performance for that one. As I said, I kicked myself a little bit. $11 and change there. Sasua Summer second, and a nice second. Again, it was a nice trip over to the fairgrounds for that one. Worth taking the shot, certainly. The Untappable yesterday, it's the 2-year-old fillies going 1.70 miles. I liked Alpine Princess. Alpine Princess, interesting 4 races so far. Started up at Saratoga, ran third in debut for Brad Cox. Followed that up, breaking the maiden at Saratoga in the second start. Now they get ambitious. They have one that seemed to run well up at Saratoga. And so they go down to Keeneland and they try the Alcibiades. Oof, that was not what they were hoping for, the Alcibiades. They run 7th in the field of 8 by almost 30 lengths behind Candide and Vivi's Dream. Brad Cox regroups, goes to Churchill, tries Allowance Company and an off the turfer. The horse wins over Sistina Chapel, who was another runner yesterday in this race. But it looks like, and it looked like to me, that was a nice confidence builder to build on and move forward from. So I used up Alpine Princess on top. Betting Public agreed, making that one the 8-5 favorite. Legadima was a little bit interesting to me as well, as was West Omaha, another Brad Cox runner, and it will be a Brad Cox exacta. We can see Alpine Princess, who stumbled a little bit coming out of the gate and was at the back of the pack for a few strides, but it wasn't long before she went to the front under Florent Giraud and took them all the way around. And really, they don't close. The chart margin is going to wind up to be a couple lengths here, but it is the other Brad Cox runner, West Omaha, who also showed some promise in the first couple of starts of the career. Legadima, who was the third choice. It's top pick 8-5 over 2-1 with the first 2 finishers being the first 2 choices. Third choice at 5-2 was Legadima. That one was kind of in the hunt going around the turn and into the stretch, but then faded to be a little bit of a disappointing fourth in there. Was sitting second much of the trip and faded to be a little bit of a disappointing fourth. Well beaten, obviously. Really, everybody was well beaten in here behind Alpine Princess, who this is now the 5th career start, 3rd win, stakes victory. And we'll see. They have a nice 3-year-old trail down there. And as we talked with Kenny McPeak yesterday, Fairgrounds offers you, they have horses based there. You can bounce back and forth between that and Oak Lawn, and both of those tracks have nice stake schedules for the 3-year-old fillies and the 3-year-old males. We'll see Alpine Princess, obviously now. A stakes winner around 2 turns. She will be seen in, the 3-year-old stakes trail, 3-year-old filly stakes trail that leads into the Kentucky Oaks for certain until something changes for her. She signals going the other way, but off of yesterday's performance, certainly we will be moving in that direction. In the 10th race yesterday at the fairgrounds, the Diliberto Memorial, 1.16 miles on the grass. I liked Rising Empire, 6-1 on the morning line, went off at 9-2. Another one of the ones that didn't run for me yesterday, winding up 9th in the field of 12. I had 2 Emmys down in the 3rd spot. The question on two Emmys, very talented runner for Hugh Robertson, James Graham on board. Question mark on two Emmys was, hadn't been seen since last year at the fairgrounds, January and February. Two nice races, certainly. And that January start was from a June layoff. So the horse had run decently off layoffs at fairgrounds on the turf, 8 exacta finishes and 11 tries. So two Emmys certainly had a resume. And the betting public, despite the layoff, made that one 7-2. And two Emmys gets it done, and gets it done pretty nicely in here. Number 10, Beatbox, who I thought was also a player for Cherie DeVoe, will wind up running second, and English Tavern third. Johnny's Fireball, if you look for the number 4, Silk, Johnny's Fireball, owned in part by Brilliant Racing, the partnership from our friend Joe Christopek. And you can see Johnny's Fireball, the number 4, making a nice late run. It's too late, not going to challenge for the win, but it's right up there in the mix behind that. So, again, congratulations to those folks for a decent little run for the Norm Cassie trainee, as I say, owned in partnership with a few groups, but Brilliant Racing and Joe Christopek part of that. But the winner, two Emmys, as I say, 7-year-old, and I'm guessing, let's see, 100,000, probably didn't quite get there. But this horse is now knocking on the door of being a millionaire. Came into yesterday's with $925,000, comes out of $100,000, I would guess, with $60,000. So we're maybe $20K away from going over the millionaire mark for two Emmys. And again, nice little runner there. And a great training job when you can come back from a February to a December layoff and get it done like that. In a nice field. This was a full field, nice field of stakes quality turf runners, and two Emmys scores in the Diliberto yesterday. As I say, under James Graham for Hugh Roberts. Olders facing off in the Tenacious yesterday on the card. I like Dash Attack. Dash Attack didn't offer a whole lot here for Ken McPeak. The race 2 back at Churchill where Dash Attack tossed in the triple-digit buyer, I was kind of hanging my hat on that. Now followed up in the Fayette, a little bit of a dud, and then tossed in kind of a clunker yesterday. Dash Attack winds up 7th in the field of 8 as the second choice at 4-1. So the betting public liked that one also. But the winner here is going to be 5-Star General. Horse that I didn't have in my mix at all. And the betting public ignored a little bit at 12-1 is the second longest price on the board. But it's Grant Forster. He can get some clever winners, certainly. A horse with plenty of early speed. And that was pretty much the game plan. Led much of the way around and winds up very easy to spot here in those silks. And, you know, you're at the top of the stretch, you think, maybe he's going to come back. And doesn't come back at all. Winds up with a chart margin of 3. Pioneer of Medina, number 7, winds up second. Happy American, the 5, third. And I mentioned Pioneer of Medina yesterday. Certainly we remember him, a horse that had all kinds of promise and ran very well for Todd Pletcher earlier in the career. Now in the barn, however, of Brad Cox. The comeback from the layoff last time for Pioneer of Medina, from June and then over to Brad Cox to November at Churchill, 5th by 21 for Pioneer Medina on the comeback. But maybe needed that because this was a decent little effort in here to be second. Now, again, 3 lengths behind the winner, but he's kind of the only one really offering up something here. He'll be a length and a half ahead of the third place finisher. So interested to see Pioneer Medina going forward here. But obviously the winner is clear, as I say, with 3 lengths, 5-Star General. And again, you looked at the record. There were some things you could have made cases for. We had talked a little bit about this one yesterday with Kevin Kilroy. And I said, you know what? He's an interesting runner with the frequent flyer miles. Back in August, out at Emerald Downs, 5-Star General won the Long Acres Mile. So, you know, had some nice stakes victories on the resume, followed up that Long Acres Mile trying Saltier Company in the Lucas Classic, grade 2 at Churchill, well beaten there, but came back in the Delta Mile and ran third. So it seems like, as they say, frequent flyer miles, they're kind of cleverly picking their spots and whatnot. And then they made the clever choice to run yesterday and got it done pretty easily at 12-1. As they say, there were things to like. If you looked up at the 12-1, I didn't, but there were certainly some things that made that one maybe a little bit interesting in there. And it will be interesting to watch going forward because, as I say, they're kind of clever where they pick their spots. And so 5-Star General maybe one to keep our eyes on. And definitely want to keep our eyes on the winner of the stakes finale yesterday at the fairgrounds. It was the gun runner for the 2-year-old males, mile and a 16th. All eyes were on Nash, the big maiden winner at Churchill in the previous start. I had Nash on top. I got sucked in. And you never know. Sometimes these horses back it up and they're just that good. You want to kind of root for them and watch them and hope we have a nice superstar in the making. And sometimes they just, it's hard to come back two big performances. So Nash with a 97 buyer in that maiden breaker at Churchill for Brad Cox and Godolphin, as I say, took the action yesterday at 1-2. Horse I had right underneath was Track Phantom. Track Phantom for Steve Asmussen, third in debut, second in the follow-up, won the third start. Third start was the first try around 2 turns, seemed to appreciate that. The numbers improved with each start, so the 88 in the maiden breaker was solid, certainly, and it will be Track Phantom getting it done at 9-2 over Sneed. Another runner got a little bit overlooked. This was a maiden breaker in the prior start for Brendan Walsh right here at the fairgrounds with a pretty good 80 buyer. Sneed was playable at 9-1. Nash is the 6. Nash is going to disappoint in here again at 1-2. Fairly well beaten third, 3 lengths behind the winner. This is kind of interesting as well. And again, you see it is Track Phantom. Sneed second, Nash third. Track Phantom now 2 wins in 4 career starts, including a nice stakes victory. And again, they have that nice series down there at the fairgrounds for the 3-year-olds. But Steve Asmussen can also bounce up to Oak Lawn if he would like to for that series. But it was notable that the time for this race, 144.42. The older version, the older group in the prior race, the Tenacious, again, Track Phantom 144.42, Olders 144.04. So he's right there with the older horses and what they ran in the prior race. I will know I get sucked into these early season talented runners from Steve Asmussen. Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much. But I will note that it was only a couple of years ago that Epicenter won the 2021 version of this race. Subsequently went on to run second in the Derby, won the Travers, wound up to be the 3-year-old of the year, Epicenter. So we will see if Track Phantom can live up to that earlier Asmussen runner and winner of the gun runner as well, Epicenter. But one way or the other, one to watch as we move into the 3-year-old season again in just about a week or so with the turning of the calendar. All right, we will take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up on this Christmas Eve edition of Racing Across America. Stay tuned.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Falbrough. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. I pulled up the article, mentioned yesterday on the Handicappers Report. I mentioned a few minutes ago the 3-year-olds on the turf this year turning into potentially nice additions to the older division next year. One of those integration, and Dave Grenning had an article a couple days ago, Shug McGahee, taking a look at the Pegasus World Cup turf for undefeated integration, who undefeated as a 3-year-old, and going to be interesting to keep our eyes on him going forward. But that'll be fun to see. It seems like the Pegasus this year, if everybody who kind of has said, yeah, we're thinking about it, goes, both the dirt and the turf, seems like it has the potential to be very, very interesting. But integration for Shug and West Point and whatnot, keep our eyes on that one going forward as well. I just wanted to look up. See if I can quickly pull up the record here. It clearly is. Had the Maiden Breaker down at Colonial, then the Virginia Derby, then the Hill Prince. Looked good in all of those. Again, Shug, West Point, and company with integration. So 3 starts, undefeated, and looking maybe at the Pegasus World Cup turf. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. All right, again, coming up in about an hour or so, I'll kick back in. 12:10 will be Gulfstream, 12:24, and I'm always amazed. You can't just make it 12:25, but it's 12:24 for Tampa kicking off today. A little Harris Philly as well. But with a little racing action this afternoon, I'll come in for everybody that I'm in. So I'll stick around. But for everybody who does have the shopping done, or maybe you're wrapping. Maybe you have the TV on, you're going to play some horses, you're going to wrap, or get some of the cooking started. We will be in this afternoon taking a look at some of the action. East Coast and West Coast of Florida, Tampa and Gulfstream. Looking forward to it. Again, I will also give you a reminder towards the end of the day when racing wraps up, and it'll wrap up obviously early today. When it does wrap up, we will fire up our best of the annual Capital OTB TV Best of, which runs every Christmas Day with no racing on Christmas. We pick out a couple hours worth of the best interviews we have from the summer up at Saratoga, and you can tune in throughout the day and check us out if you would like to on Christmas Day. Take a little break from the turkey, the dressing, the presents, the running around and whatnot, and just kick back and watch some of the nice interviews from this past summer. Again, that'll start at the end of the day today when racing ends, and it'll go all day tomorrow as well. Then on Tuesday, again, Santa Anita kicking off on Tuesday, kicking off their meet as they annually do day after Christmas. And I'm just pulling up the schedule here. This is some way to kick off the day. San Gabriel, American Oaks, San Antonio, Malibu, the Mathis Mile, and the La Brea. Obviously a stakes-laden group. And just pulling up here some of our fields. San Antonio, Stiletto Boy is in there. Salesman. The Malibu, Baffert has 1, 2, 3 in there. Fort Bragg, certainly. Speedboat Beach. Brad Cox is bringing in Giant Mischief. So interesting on the 3-year-old side of things there. And then a little bit later on in the La Brea. and that's why I was looking just to verify. We had Brad Cox on a couple of weeks ago, and he said Howell was likely for the La Brea, and sure enough, Howell is entered for Brad Cox. And that one to me is interesting because we were talking about that one with Brad Cox. 2 for 2 so far as a 3-year-old filly. Broke the maiden late in October at Keeneland. And then you don't see a whole lot of Brad Cox runners over at Laurel, but they tried the Safely Kept, and she won that. So Howell 2 for 2 for Brad Cox and LNJ Foxwoods. And in the third career start, they will try the Malibu on Tuesday. So again, great stakes-laden card at Santa Anita on Tuesday. Saturday, don't forget, right here at the Clubhouse Racebook, do mark that on your calendar for next week. Saturday, holiday grab bag here at the Clubhouse Racebook. If you come down, you can watch all the racing action. You can watch all the games, obviously. We're in that time of the year. Grab a little lunch at Fridella's on a Saturday afternoon. And we will randomly pick folks throughout the afternoon to pick a present from under the tree. So keep that in mind. That's a week from yesterday, next Saturday, right here, Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this holiday weekend, Christmas Eve, Sunday, racing across America. But again, I'll be back in about an hour or so for kind of an abbreviated edition of OTB Live on Christmas Eve. As they say, we'll take you through some of the action at Tampa and Gulfstream. Probably wrap it up a little early, but just linger through and hopefully give some good ideas, and maybe I'll cash some tickets and put an extra smile on our face on a Christmas for those folks who, again, are all done with their shopping, or maybe, as I say, sitting home wrapping the presents or preparing the food. We'll be in this afternoon for at least a little while, OTB Live, looking at Tampa and some Gulfstream. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. In the meantime, stay tuned. Again, happy you tuned in this morning to Racing Across America, and back in about an hour or so, OTB Live, for Sunday, Christmas Eve. We'll see you then.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Gulfstream Park's championship meet brings world-class thoroughbred racing to South Florida each winter, and it's a prime reason to offer the best turf racing possible. Having the best surfaces is the key to offering a superior racing product. We are committed to attracting the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys to run over our exceptional course. Gulfstream Park's new turf course will be unveiled this December.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now. We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park, the championship meet, running now through Florida Derby weekend, March 31st.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.